Good morning, Lorain County. Welcome to the Culinary Enthusiast, the cooking show at the Lorain County Community College. Today we have a few guests with us. I will introduce them now. We have Gail Flanigan, the owner of the Unicorn Restaurant in Grafton, Ohio, and her chef, Jim Barnhart, also of the Unicorn, and then the culinary program chef here at Lorain County Community College, Adam Smith. So, Gail, can you give us a little bit of a history of the Unicorn Restaurant?
I'd be happy to. We opened the restaurant in January of 1983. However, it was a process of 7 years prior to opening. My husband, being an Irishman, always after graduation of Notre Dame, always wanted to open an Irish pub. And we were young.
Let me ask you something. So did he have any restaurant experience before doing that?
No, but he had a business degree from Notre Dame.
Okay, all right.
So
good.
there was the yin and yang. I grew up in a rural area of Ohio, and where farm to table was a way of life. And my family were foodies before the term was even used. And I did have experience with catering and doing some various things before I attended college. And I did get a teaching degree and moved to Elyria, where I taught for a number of years and met my husband. So we'll go back to the history. And that was something on his bucket list. And with 7 years in the making, we began by purchasing an old home that was located in Grafton and began working on the plans to develop financing, to do the design, to convert it into a commercial building.
So back when the restaurant was started, because if you drive down Grafton now, that's a pretty commercial area, the main strip. It's not so residential. It was obviously residential at one point. I mean, what did it look like back when the restaurant was open?
Back in the time, there wasn't a lot of activity. When we first opened the restaurant, it was pretty much of a rural landscape, and the Highway 57 was basically scattered with scattered homes, no commercial or real estate development. My husband had plans, however, to begin real estate and commercial development in the area. And that's why he also felt that the restaurant would be a good cornerstone and attract people to the area for the businesses and also for residential development.
Very nice.
So as the 7 years progressed, I call it the incubation phase. I began collecting data. This is pre-internet, so for you
right.
internet generation, to obtain things. I had never been to Ireland. I used the U.S. mail, wrote letters to the Irish Tourist Board. I attended Irish festivals in the area. I received very good response from several businesses in Ireland because Grafton Street is one of the most commercial areas in Dublin, and we thought that was another fitting connection, being in Grafton, Ohio.
That's very interesting. I didn't know that.
And they kindly sent us 2 photographs, black and white photographs of early Grafton Street in Ireland. And we also had a bookstore sent us a poster of quotes. And I decoupaged those, and my father helped with the framing. Those were some of the earliest decor which we began collecting before we opened the restaurant. And compiling also, I worked with menu development and some of the early recipes that we wanted to put in the core menu. Now, of course, we started out with the idea of a pub, serving pub grub. But that quickly grew because people we know were, well, you can do a hamburger, can't you do a steak? And therefore, we expanded the menu rather quickly to have a small, limited number of entrees.
Are there any items that were started like on the first menu, the beginning stages, that are still part of the menu there?
Okay, an Irish restaurant, I'll give you a clue. Corned beef and cabbage.
Right.
Although it is more of an Irish-American dish that the Irish settlers coming to New York City wanted to replicate what they cooked at home, and the closest they could find was from local delicatessens, and did the corned beef and tried to produce it in a fashion that was similar to what they missed from their homeland. Cool. So we have that on our earliest menu, and we did have that small filet mignon. And other than that, some of the items have changed or evolved from those times.
Yeah, awesome. And you said the restaurant started in what year?
January 28, 1983.
Okay, very nice.
And why it was January of 1983 is it was a complicated process because although we were in the village of Grafton, which had ability to serve alcohol, we were also in a township that was dry.
Oh, interesting.
So we had to obtain a vote. There were issues with the ballot wording.
So by the time everything got through, it
Correct.
was January.
And in fact, in January that day, we were staffed, trained. We had been since November. I was watching out the window for the UPS driver to bring the license. That afternoon, after I attacked him, grabbed it, posted it, we were open that evening.
Wow, so that's quite a story.
It is quite. The unicorn is full of legends, and it's not Blarney, so.
Yeah,
but fast forward, here we are today, and we have been starting our Clambake season, which has been popular for years at the restaurant. And one of the dishes that we have served for several years, our Clambake in the bowl, is something we're going to be preparing today, and Chef Jim Barnhart will take it from here.
All right, thank you. Chef, what you going to do today?
So I'm going to be preparing the unicorn Clambake in the bowl. Pretty relatively simple dish. It's exciting, and it's really good for the ladies. They don't get a bunch of stuff on their hands. Everyone might think of a Clambake as, you know, you get a lobster, you get a half chicken, you get your fingers dirty, and you get your front coated in all kinds of stuff. This meal is not like that at all. So we're going to start by steaming the clams. Me personally, I like to take corn cobs, and I just take that corn right off of the cob. Normally I would use a mandolin for this. It helps to keep the corn from going everywhere. And you're left with this cob. I don't like to waste things. A lot of flavor packed in this guy. Crunch that bad boy up. Get it right over here into the sauteuse. And we'll start with that. Get that going. We throw in a little bouquet garni.
Chef, what's in a bouquet garni? Let's
Right in a bouquet garni, it's real simple. Generally leeks, some thyme, a carrot, and parsley stems go right into a bouquet garni. It just adds a little aromatics to that clam broth. Really, in essence, what I'm doing here is I want to develop a nice broth from the clams, which I'm going to use to make our creamed corn for the Clambake. So we start with a little white wine. We're going to bring that to a simmer and just a little bit of water. And we'll put the lid on that and let that guy come up to a boil. We'll add the clams in there and get all that going. While that's coming up to a boil, get our saute pan warmed up here. And then we're just going to sweat the celery and onions for the creamed corn, which goes into the dish. Just take a little bit of melted butter here and get that warmed up. So components of the dish. You have red skin potatoes that go down in the center, a little creamed corn around, and then we put 6 clams that are steamed right around that. Top it off with some more creamed corn and a grilled lobster tail. At the restaurant, you can also get a chicken breast. We marinate it with lemon, thyme, a little shallots, a little bit of garlic, if you don't like lobster, of course. So, got all that stuff going.
Very nice. The history of the Clambake in northeastern Ohio is very kind of an interesting thing, and whether you knew this or not, but the reason that the Clambakes have gotten so huge in northeastern Ohio is that a lot of the settlers in the area in the Firelands district settled from the East Coast, and so they brought that tradition of Clambakes back to this particular area. So they settled in the Firelands region, and so kind of an interesting, history of how Clambakes got to be so big around the Cleveland and northeastern Ohio area.
Absolutely, thank you, Chef. So you get your celery, your onions into the saute pan. When I'm sweating vegetables, I always like to add a little bit of salt. That helps to bring out the moisture. It helps so they don't brown. We don't want to bring any browning to this. We just want to sweat it down. We'll let that go. Crack a little pepper in there. I always keep my pepper mill handy.
Very nice.
Always like to use a little.
Yeah, prefer fresh ground pepper then?
you got to use fresh ground pepper. I find that it's very, almost floral, you know what I mean? It's the stuff that makes you sneeze. That's what you want when you're using pepper. You don't want that stale stuff that they use on the table. So that's what it's all about. We check our water, our wine and water with the corn, and the bouquet garni is just starting to boil. I like to add a pinch of salt to that. Don't go crazy when you're adding salt. When you're steaming clams, clams are already salty. So we'll go ahead and we'll add a few clams.
Sure. Right.
Correct?
Sure. Well,
There's a lot of clams out there, and these are middle necks. Do you prefer wild? Do you prefer farmed? Is there a difference?
yeah, I do think there is a difference. Me personally, I prefer farm clams. I think that they're cleaner. Wild clams tend to be really muddy, and it takes a lot to get all the grit out of the inside of them.
Right. So there was a procedure you did before. You had some cornmeal and you soaked them in water. It's kind of like they refer to as a purge.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. When I purchase clams, whether they're farm raised or wild, I just like to put them in some water, add a little bit of salt, a little bit of cornmeal, and just kind of let them sit there for 15 minutes. You don't want to leave them in there for an hour. You don't want to leave them in there for 2 hours. That'll totally drown the clams and kill them. But it helps the clams to kind of purge out the sand, and then they'll take in that cornmeal. And what do you know about cornmeal? When it cooks, it gets soft, and it resembles a grain of sand to the clam. So instead of having this gritty, grainy, you'll just have that soft cornmeal, and the diners won't even notice that it's in there.
Nice.
So,
Very nice.
wash my hands off here.
So you guys
So we got
are
these
in,
vegetables. Sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I just say so. You guys are in full tilt clam bake mode.
Yeah,
kind of going on?
we're kind of in. I guess this is like full tilt precursor clam bake mode. In October, we really get busy with our big bake, which of course you'll get a whole Maine lobster, half a chicken, and clams, mussels, red skin potatoes, pearl onions, all that jazz that goes with the clam bake. So back to this, we're sweating down our onions, we're sweating down our celery. I like to add a little bit of garlic to this as well. Just take that clove, smash it down, and then we'll chop this guy up here. And I like my garlic to be real fine. Nobody wants to get a chunk of garlic in their teeth when they're eating this, you know. It's got to be unnoticeable. You guys know that, right, culinarians? So, get that all chopped up nice and fine. Get some garlic going on in there. Check our clams, see if they'll open. Usually the clams take about 5 minutes to open, roughly, give or take. In my experiences, it's never been the same. And if you're in a restaurant environment and you're making like clams linguine and you need them to open right away, they will take even longer. So just be patient.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That does happen. Yes.
Yeah. So you just got to really be patient with that. Turn up the heat a little bit, get these sweating a little better.
I know that from past experience, if you're ever cooking clams and you've got, it seems like all the clams open except for maybe one, there might be something wrong with that clam. So not necessarily a good clam to serve if you've been trying to steam it for 20 minutes and it's not open.
Don't try to pop it open. Just throw it in the garbage.
Right.
If you try to pop it open, 9 times out of 10, there's some bad stuff going on in there, and you get some muddy stuff. I mean, let's face it, they're wild ingredients, natural ingredients, and not everything's perfect in nature. So that's how it goes. Keep our eye on those things.
Smells nice.
It
Yes.
does. It does. It
So-
smells real nice.
It does.
Yeah.
I'm in the right spot.
For this creamy corn sauce that we use for the dish, we source local Ohio sweet corn. What do you guys know about local Ohio sweet corn? It's the best corn in the nation.
It
right?
is. That's
And
right.
we're
The
talking-
sweetest.
yes,
Yes.
Lorain County local.
Yes.
So
And
throw that
yeah.
in there. Yes.
Good point. Yeah, we always try to source ingredients local from the farmers in Lorain County. Gail's out in Avon every day picking up things, odds and ends, bringing me peaches, bringing me corn, anything that's in season. I always tell Gail, the owner, I say, if you bring me something in season, I will never complain. I love that stuff. There's nothing like cooking in season.
Very good.
So I'm going to add a little bit more drawn butter to this, and we're going to kind of make a roux in the pan here.
Now with the corn, we noticed that you roasted it and then you took it out. Is there a difference in the sugar content that you get from steaming or boiling, or because everything seems to be really sweet and corn oriented here? You've got corn inside of your broth, which is developing a nice sweetness inside of there too.
Absolutely, yeah. When you roast the corn, as we do for this dish, it really helps to concentrate the sugars, convert the starches into sugars. Sorry.
And to try and replicate the taste of a chowder. So there again, it's part of that Clambake in a bowl. All the components are represented.
So this is kind of like the new twist to
Yes.
the old messy Clambake. Everything
Right.
that you're producing here is going to be in a bowl.
Or with the word unicorn, we like
Oh,
to think
yeah.
unique.
There,
Those clams are nice and look like they're opened up now,
they look
Chef.
happy. now.
Absolutely.
They're
Clams are opened
smiling.
up now.
Yeah.
We're going to take a little bit of that liqueur out of there. Nah, I better move some clams first.
Yeah.
Grab a plate here.
now I also noticed when you added the flour, some people like to tighten and fix sauces and get them thicker by using different ingredients, maybe a cornstarch or something like that. You chose to use flour, and I saw that you constantly are stirring and stirring because you really don't want anything to brown up in there.
Exactly, and I actually turned the heat off because I'm waiting to get this juice out of there. You don't want to really, per se, brown that flour in there. Really, you're just kind of making a pan roux, blonde pan roux. And if you go any darker, you'll start to get flavors that won't really
You get a little
adhere
bit
nicely
nuttier
to the
inside of
dish.
there.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Corn taste, you lose that a little bit.
Exactly. So we got all these lovely clams. We'll pull out and we'll reserve that.
Nice. Here you go.
Okay.
I can take that for you.
Thank you.
Put that right there.
You
Yeah.
can put that right in front of me, Chef.
Right.
Take some of
Nice.
this,
You got a little
lovely-
butter over there, Chef?
I'm ready.
We could, yeah.
They smell delicious, and
They do.
The meat fill in these are beautiful too. These are the middle necks.
We'll take some of this lovely clam broth here. We'll turn that heat up. We'll grab our whisk, and this will start to thicken. And as it starts to thicken, I like to just add in a little bit of cream.
That's
And of
looking
course
quite
some
rich
salt.
there, Chef.
That looks
That cream
wonderful.
Looks like it's going to push it over the edge. I think we're going to
Yeah.
like it.
Right, right. So we get that cream going on in there.
So we've got a creamy corn sauce.
Yep.
All right. I see the steamed clams are over here.
Right.
They look awesome.
So we
then
got
we've
this-
got a lobster, looks
Absolutely.
like lobster tail here.
Absolutely.
Some red skin potatoes going on here too.
Yes, yes. So we're going to get this lobster tail. We're going to get a little bit of butter on that as well. As you know, I like to put butter on everything. Butter with anything makes it better, right? A little bit of
Chef.
butter.
Don't worry about the hips in this one.
A little
Fresh,
bit of salt,
fresh pepper there,
fresh
right?
Pepper. We are all good. And then we lay that down shell side and just let that cook there for 3 to 4 minutes. We'll flip it over, X the other side, get all that stuff good to go. Grab my side towel here. This whisk is a little warm. A little bit more cream in here.
Now, you mentioned that you do a full lobster with one of the meals later on.
Yeah.
The
So,
month of October,
All right.
Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays for the first 3 weekends in October, we do the Big Bake Clam Bake, where we do have the full lobster, the half chicken, as Jim said earlier.
Go there. So we're going to season this, add a little bit of salt, a little bit more fresh cracked pepper, and I like to take a little bit of thyme. And you know, a lot of times you can pick this stuff. I just like to add in the sprigs, and then you just kind of keep that separate. As long as you don't go crazy on mixing it up, you won't have any issues there. Loosen that up.
That
a
looks
little bit.
wonderful.
I think it gives it a really nice rustic look too.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
a lot of times people will take a dried thyme and it doesn't flour up as well. So I think people are used to seeing, if they see a big sprig or something in there, they kind of identify that as a garnish.
Well,
Yeah.
and they identify it as fresh
Yeah.
too. I mean,
Right.
you know,
Absolutely.
it's
And
a
I
fresh,
think
fresh herb.
That's where you're going.
And
with
that's
the
just
fresh
a-
corn
And that's just a simple part in the preparation there. Obviously, when we go to plate that up, there won't be any thyme sprigs in the sauce, you know what I mean? We'll just kind of pull that out. but it helps to give that nice rustic flavor to that. So got our lobster here. Go ahead and we'll turn that.
Chef, wrapping up about 12 minutes.
Okay,
All right.
very good, very good. We're almost there. So we get our, oh, wrong one. We get our back burner going, and I'm just going to warm up these red skin potatoes. Basically, I've already blanched these red skin potatoes in some salted water just to give them a little bit of seasoning, and then it really helps to speed up the preparation. So you just pop those right into a pan, get them warm, just a touch of water, and once again, of course, we add a little salt.
So this meal actually, I mean,
bit
for
of
the people
pepper.
that are at home and may actually try this,
Pardon
can
me?
have a lot of this stuff done already in advance.
Oh,
And just
absolutely.
kind of,
Absolutely. And you just kind of put it together in the moment. So we'll take a little parsley. We're going to use some parsley on the dish. When I chop parsley, I don't like to chop it super fine. Certain things, like if you're making spatzels with herbs, obviously you want to chop your parsley fine, so when you're making it, it'll go through the spatzel machine. But for garnishing, I like to not really kill the parsley. I just like to rough chop it up and sprinkle it on the top. I find that you get the best texture and feel out of the parsley that way. We're going to go ahead and flip these lobster tails.
That's a pretty nice looking lobster tail there too. That looks good.
it's nice to see that the lobster tail migrated along with the clam.
Right.
That completes the meal there.
Now I know that a lot of clam bakes have chicken with them too. So before the show, we were talking a little bit about the unicorn clam bake and the options that you have at the Unicorn.
Yes. And again, to keep it a neat presentation, for the unicorn clam bake, it's a boneless, skinless chicken breast that Jim has marinated and seasoned prior. And so
Very nice.
if you don't care for seafood, you can have that as an option as
Very
well.
nice. So lots of options.
Go ahead and turn that lobster tail there. We'll finish it. It's almost done. And we'll be plating here very momentarily.
Can I get you anything, Chef? You
Get
good?
that right out of the way. Yeah, we're all good. Just move these things.
Done with that?
Done with that.
All right.
And then
Done
going to go ahead and taste this, make sure we're on point here with the flavors.
Chef that tastes his food. That's one of the number
That
one
is a
things.
very,
If you
very
don't
good
try
thing,
your
isn't
food-
it?
Always got to taste what you make. Always got to taste what you make. Looks like we need a little bit more salt.
Yep.
And we're in there. Another thing too, if you notice that the flavors aren't coming through with the corn and stuff like that, you can add a touch of honey, you can add a touch of vinegar. It really depends on the ingredient in season. You know, you got to use those seasoning techniques when you're cooking fresh ingredients.
Can I try it, Chef?
Absolutely. It needs a little stir though. I just put some salt on top.
Okay.
Hopefully you don't get a salty bite.
Yeah, we'll wait.
There you go. Now give that a taste.
All right.
All right.
Yep.
So go ahead and pull this lobster off.
Chef,
Should I try it?
you got to try
Please.
that.
Please.
Oh, man.
You know, I was waiting for the final.
Yeah, we
and,
have to. Here you go.
I will be shy. Thank you.
Chef, that's got some great flavor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very, very nice.
Appreciate that. So we take these red skin potatoes. Like I said, you got the parsley. It's not killed. You just go ahead and sprinkle that right on the reds. And we go ahead and get to plating. You just want to mix that in there. A couple of bowls.
Wow.
You know what's nice about when you put the flour in there, it kind of cooks out. You don't get that
Oh, yeah.
pasty feel in there. You get a nice creamy texture.
Well, that's kind of an important point, is to make sure that you do cook the flour out
Absolutely.
a little bit so it doesn't leave that kind of pasty flavor.
Absolutely.
Well, what would an Irish pub be without some potatoes on a plate too? So I see
Right.
where you're sticking to a little bit of a mainstream here.
Got to have those nice waxy red skin potatoes. Feel good on the teeth when you're eating all the rest of these
Right.
seafood items.
And Ireland was known for mussels, obviously, being and salmon as well in their cuisine.
Right.
So we'll take a little bit of the red skins, we put them down on the dish, and then I like to take a little bit of that creamy corn, put that on top of the red skin potatoes,
Oh,
okay?
so that's like chowder right there.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. That's exactly what we're going for right here.
This
It's kinda-
dish is screaming fall right now. I
Right.
mean, this is the perfect dish.
Then we just go ahead and take these clams. You want to warm them right back up in your clam liqueur there a little bit.
4 minutes, Jim.
Got it. And we'll just kind of mix those around, get those guys warmed up, and just set the 6 clams right onto the dish.
And if you do want clams, additional clams, we can augment it a la carte,
Right.
obviously.
Absolutely, yeah, if you want a dozen
12,
clams.
18,
Exactly.
24, right?
Have fun. Right?
However many clams you want, you can get them. You know, just last week alone, we went through about 600 clams at the restaurant. I'm sure this week, with things picking up, we're going to go through even more. So you put the clams down, you get that lobster right on top, and then I like to come back again with some of this creamy corn sauce and just kind of go right inside of the clam as well, just to get that good stuff going on there. Normally I'll have a brush and I'll brush this lobster tail right before it goes out.
That
Do
looks
you provide
amazing,
a
chef.
restroom for your customers after eating this? Because I can see just a
Is that it?
total
All
comfort
set?
plate.
Very
That's
nice.
it, and then we
Man,
hit it
chef,
with
that
a-
looks beautiful.
Just a kiss of
Little
parsley, bada bing,
Very
bada boom,
nice,
there's the dish.
chef, that looks
Unicorn
great.
Clambake.
Very,
Thank
very
you.
nice. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much for your time today coming in. So,
Absolutely.
we
Absolutely.
appreciate our guests coming in from the Unicorn Restaurant in Grafton, Ohio.
May I
And
add, we are open
yes.
Tuesday through Saturday from 4 p.m. on.
All right, very nice. So go on in there and have some clams, and anything else on the menu too.
Absolutely,
So-
it's all delicious.
Right. Thank you guys very much for joining us today on the Culinary Enthusiast. See us again next month. All right. Have a wonderful day.